Hello, welcome back to King's Quest VI. Alright, so, we've just been told by the bookstore owner to go seek an audience at the castle. And so we're going to do that in just a second here. We're going to check out a couple more things first, though.
There's a book entitled The Changing Role of Court Entertainers Through the Ages on the small table in the reading area. It appears that some regular customer likes that book.
Interesting. Let's see what it says.
Alexander rests his feet for a moment. Alexander picks up and leafs idly through a book called The Changing Role of Court Entertainers Through the Ages. Well, that was refreshing.
Apparently not much. Oh, Alexander doesn't really need to know how to be a court entertainer anyway.
A collection of children's books fill those shelves. Alexander is a little old for those children's books. These shelves hold a selection of cookbooks. Alexander isn't interested in the cookbooks on that shelf. He's had an aversion to cooking ever since he experimented with a certain cookie recipe involving cat hair and fish oil.
Don't you just love those little references?
Assorted travelogues and biographies are arranged on these shelves. Right now, Alexander is too involved with the journey he's on to take time to read about the journeys of others. These shelves hold a collection of oddly titled guidebooks. Alexander notices such books as How to Become King with Little or No Rupees Down, Finding the Right Girl with the Right Dowry, and Why Good Princesses Like Bad Wizards. There's no reason to touch that. Alexander is not interested in those self-help books.
He certainly could use a little help himself, though.
Volumes of poetry are on display on this bookshelf. Thinking of Cosima, Alexander decides to leaf through one of the volumes of love poetry. He reads, Thy hair, thy lips, thy beauteous face, and all thy studied female grace have won for thee anon a place within this broken breast. Not bad. And another. Upon the shore the lilies bend, untouched by worldly care, where shadow they her earthly bed, oh, that she were not there. Yikes. And another. What was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through, and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? What nameless thing has captured me, and made me powerless to flee? What thing is it without a name, that brings my mind e'er back the same to thee? The name of love cannot apply. Its commonness does not decry the haunted, hunted, painful cry that my heart makes for you, that e'er my soul eternal makes for you.
A little close to home, that one.
Alexander returns the love poem book to the shelf. A page has fallen from the poem book and now lies on the floor. Alexander picks up the fallen page. It's the love poem he particularly liked. It must have fallen out of the poetry book.
I see that old volume has lost another page. You may keep it if you like, sir. I have glued the stubborn thing back in place 2 times already.
I do rather like it. Thank you, merchant.
It is a rather nice poem. Alright, just a couple more things.
An antique leather-bound book is displayed on a little stand on the counter. On the elaborate cover is the title, Ye Useful Book of Magic Spells.
Well, well. Magic spells, is it?
How much for that book on the counter, merchant?
It is a fine book, is it not? I obtained it from the estate of the one and only magician this kingdom has ever had. Poofed himself into an aardvark in the end, or so I heard. I never found the spells all that useful myself, but then I lead a boring life. I tell you what, if you can find another rare book, something a bit more marketable, I might be willing to exchange the spell book for it.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
There's a small table near the door that bears a sign. The sign has undergone a number of changes. It once read 10 pence, but that was crossed out and replaced with 5 pence, then 1 pence, then free. The sign currently reads, "Take one, please." Only one book remains on the table. It looks like the bookshop owner really wants to get rid of that book. Alexander picks up the book from the small table.
Oh yes, please take that book. You have my most humble thanks for doing so, good sir.
Really? Thanks.
Well now, why would you want to get rid of such a nice little book?
Alexander opens the bargain book and reads a paragraph at random.
2 dulcimers raised to the degree of 40 half-dulcimers, divided into equal parts by the third of a cackle of grouse geese, put over the result of 10 fine mackles, albeit small fine mackles, stretched over the total of 53 1/8 bottles of wild beast lard.
Phew, what an incredibly boring book. No wonder the bookshop owner wanted to get rid of it so badly.
I don't suppose we could put it back on the table.
The bookshop owner went to quite a bit of trouble to get rid of that book. Alexander doesn't want to just leave it behind in the shop.
Darn. Oh well, we'll take it with us then. Alright, I'll tell you what. Let's keep on exploring to the west before we go back to the castle. Or out to the castle.
There's a young girl in the yard. The girl is dressed in a long, plain orange robe with a thick headdress. From the appearance of her clothes, and from a skittish, fearful look about her, Alexander gets the strong impression that she is a servant, or even worse, a slave. The serving girl appears to be stealing a quiet moment tending the rose bushes. Looking at the serving girl reminds Alexander of the years he spent as a slave under the evil wizard Mananan. He wishes there were some way he could help her. She looks very shy and nervous as she tends her roses. Looking at the serving girl reminds Alex she looks very... The girl is too far away to hold a conversation with Alexander.
You lazy thing! Get back to work and stay away from those roses! I've told you 1,000,000 times, those flowers are too sweet for the likes of you! You've still got to do the breakfast dishes, make lunch, and clean the stables yet this morning! And get your veil back on! No one wants to look at your face!
Yes, stepmother.
Well,
Alexander doesn't want to intrude on private property unless he's been invited. Alexander has not been invited to pick the family's roses.
well, that certainly was an interesting scene.
Hey, stranger, come join me. The water is wonderful, and I can show you the way to the next island.
Can you now?
Good day. I'm Alexander. What are you doing in the sea?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm swimming. I mean, come join me. The water's wonderful. I can show you the way to the next island.
The waters in this cove appear calm, but there's a dimpling pattern to the surface, which indicates an undertow.
Come on, jump in. A little water won't hurt you.
Oh, really?
Come join me, if you're brave enough. What are you waiting for? I said I'd show you how to get to the next island, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. But...
Considering the poor condition of the shore, it looks like the easiest way to get into the water is just to jump off the pier. The powerful currents grab Alexander. Struggle as he might, he feels himself being pulled out to sea.
Not a very good swimmer, are you?
Help me!
Sorry, I think not.
As his head submerges for the third time, Alexander finds himself pondering the wisdom of going out on a limb for a stranger.
Tickets up. Next.
Alexander couldn't handle those currents. That boy must be an unbelievably strong swimmer.
Indeed. Well, I actually didn't mean to click on the water. That was a mistake. Yeah.
The entrance to the house is a time-worn wooden door. The house is made of stucco in an architectural style native to the island. It is apparently quite old since climbing vines embrace its exterior. A pot etched by the natural elements of the island decorates the porch. The old woman's face, pinched with anger, could easily be mistaken for a prune. Her elaborate garments seem to be an attempt to hide her nasty disposition.
Doesn't
Yes.
work that well. Anyway, like I was saying, I didn't mean to click on the water. I was trying to walk down the dock.
Hey, stranger, come...
Yeah. We're not going to make that mistake again.
Come on, jump in.
A wooden door leads to the interior of the boat's cabin. That's strange. The young boy in the water just disappeared. Oh well, perhaps he just dove under the water.
Yeah, what do you want?
Excuse me. My name is Alexander. The owner of the bookshop in the village told me you might be able to help me. I hear you used to run this ferry for the islands. I'd like to talk to you if you have a moment.
You say old Allie sent you? I can't see why. The ferry's not running, you know.
I understand. I'd just like to talk to you about the islands if you don't mind.
Well, I guess it'd be all right if Allie sent you. Well, don't just stand there. Come on inside. What is it you wanted to talk about, young man?
Well, what do you know?
I'm a visitor to these islands. I'd like to learn what I can about the area.
So you said outside. What is it you want to know?
Well, for one thing, why has the island's only ferry been dry docked?
Huh. It just ain't safe to sail these days. What with the islands feuding and all. Wazir Al-Hazred ordered the ferry closed till things settled down. Me, I don't think she'll ever see water again.
But why are the islands feuding?
You got me. Something about stolen property or some such thing. 'Tis a real shame. Things used to be so friendly.
Then this unrest is recent.
A few years is all, but it's been long enough.
Perhaps if the ferry were repaired.
This old thing? This ferry's been out of water so long she's no longer even seaworthy. Her boards have dry rot. She'd fall apart at the first taste of seawater.
But there must be some way to get off this island.
There's only one other way to travel that I know of. A magic map. The owner of the pawn shop can tell you more about that than I can, Alexander.
Tell me more about the ferry.
I remember when I used to ferry Queen Ilaria and Princess Cosima themselves. There was no thought of danger back then. They used to go visiting to care for the needy and to keep up the friendly relations between the islands. I remember their last trip. Things had started getting nasty by then, and when they came back aboard, I gathered that the Queen and the Princess had been received a bit coldly. Princess Cosima was such a pretty thing, and she was terribly upset. But who could be spreading these lies, she asked the Queen, but the Queen had no answer.
What do you do now that the ferry no longer operates?
Me? I'm out of a job. The job my ancestors have held for generations. I'm the only one trained to avoid the reef and the rocks. But that knowledge does me no good now.
Is there no other boat on the island? One that might be more seaworthy?
Boats don't last long on these shoals, as you may have found out if you got here by ship. You can be quite sure that this old ferry is, or was, the only craft on the island.
Tell me more about Princess Cosima.
Ah, such a beautiful child, and so pure of heart. Why, a contrary thought has never crossed her mind. Her mother was the same. The king and queen, they served the islands, not the other way around, always thinking about the people. Ah, they are sorely missed.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind you. Gotta have a good sense of humor to enjoy a tour there.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Isle of the Beast is pretty, but unfortunately, you can't get very far onto the island.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The inhabitants of the Isle of the Sacred Mountain are the most gorgeous creatures you'll ever see. If you ever get to see them, that is.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Castle of the Crown sure is a beauty. She's the finest palace ever built, I'll warrant.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Some say that the land of the Green Isles is near the edge of the world, and that the deadly currents are a result of a magnetism that sucks life from this world to the next. Of course, that's just silly talk.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind you. Gotta have a good sense of humor to enjoy a tour there.
Alright, well, that was certainly useful information.
There's a rabbit's foot on the table. It seems the ferryman is counting on a little luck. There's nothing of interest on that particular part of the table.
I see you have a rabbit's foot. Has it brought you much luck?
As you can see, my luck's been out for some time now, despite that old charm. Why don't you take it with you? Perhaps giving the darn thing away will bring me good fortune at last.
Perhaps it will at that. Thank you.
Alright, well. Gracias.
Well, I think I'll be going now. Thanks for allowing me into your home.
Posh, not at all. It breaks the boredom, if you know what I mean.
Alright, so now we have a little bit more info on what's going on around here. The islands are feuding, and there's pretty much no way off except for a magic map. So, let's go back to the pawn shop and see what we can find out about this map.
good day.
Excuse me, merchant, but the ferryman mentioned that you might have a magic map of the land of the Green Isles.
Why, as a matter of fact, I do. I keep it under the counter. It's been gathering dust so long that I nearly forgot about it. It was quite a few years ago, you see. The estate of a wealthy wizard fell into my hands when he died. It was useless magical junk mostly, which reminds me, I've still got some things of his in the back that I need to dump out. Anyway, the magic map was the one true treasure in the lot. The wizard was quite old and feeble, and had enchanted the map to aid in traveling. It is said that one need only desire to be on an island depicted on the map to find oneself there. It is a very valuable map, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, no one is interested in traveling these days. It is far too dangerous with the current state of the kingdom.
What would you take for the map?
I would normally want something magic in return, but since I am hardly overrun with prospective buyers, I would be willing to take anything of equal value in exchange.
Alright, interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind. Now, notice this, strange cloaked man is here.
Good day, sir.
The old man just glares at Alexander and does not reply.
Same guy that was in the pawn shop earlier. Alright, or not the pawn shop, the bookstore earlier. Alright, well, let's go ahead and head out to the castle and see if we can secure an audience with the king and queen. Or rather, with whoever's in charge, since apparently the king and queen are no longer around.
The castle appears to be of Moorish architecture. Its marbled walls and delicate inlaid mosaics are unlike anything Alexander has ever experienced before. His own home, though lovely and dear to his heart, seems rough-hewn compared to this delicate beauty. There's a little hut just off the path. Perhaps the guard dogs have an occasional use for it, but it looks empty now. The little hut is empty.
Interesting little thing. I wonder what they could possibly use it for. Alright, well, let's get inside.
No strangers may enter the castle of the crown.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Excuse me, guardsmen, guard dogs. I've been traveling for months to see Princess Cassima. I would like an audience, please.
I'm sorry, but the princess is not receiving visitors, particularly not strangers.
I really must see the princess. Could I speak with someone in charge?
Who are you that I should bother Captain Saladin, huh?
My name is Alexander. I am a prince of Daventry and a friend of the princess.
A prince, is it? I see. Yeah, and I am lord of this dusty path. Step aside. You'll not be getting into this castle without some proof of your claims.
I assure you, I am Prince Alexander of Daventry.
And I assure you that you'll not get past me without proof.
The fact that we are Prince Daventry, Prince Alexander of Daventry. Alright, well, when we come back in the next video, we'll see if we can provide some proof for the doubtful guard dog. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye.